something happened on the diplomatic front between Kenya and DRC Congo. And this is a matter that I want us to pay attention to. At around 4 p.m., there was this information that was shared. I think I wanted to look at it. Yes. Kenya One, the official jet that President Ruto was using, was racing against time his aircraft flying at 34,000 feet above the sea level over the Somali airspace. And he was scheduled to join a virtual meeting of regional leaders at 3 p.m. East African time, that was on Friday, chaired by his South Sudanese counterpart, Salva Kiir. This meeting was supposed to deliberate on the DRC issue. But the president could not, he could not make it for that meeting. And he had to designate Musalia Mudavadi to represent him. But Kinshasa has opted out of the virtual summit of regional leaders today in response to recent comments made by Kenya's President William Ruto, who openly supported Kigali in the ongoing conflict in the eastern region. Rwanda and Uganda have also faced allegations of interference in the affairs of DRC. Remember, even recently, Musalia Mudavadi made a flew to DRC on same diplomatic tone down, because despite of Kenya sending the ambassador there, he had not been okayed by the government on the other end. He had not been given okay. Remember some time back here, we actually hosted Kenya Kwanza, I think that was in December, days to the general election just last year. Kenya Kwanza hosted one of the rebel leaders that were forming some alliance in DRC Congo. And things have not been, the relationship between Kenya and DRC have not been so much good. But I want us to listen to the statement that irritated Tshisekedi in DRC Congo and why they opted out, so that we look at it. Kenya, much as we try, President Ruto has been trying to build his profile in the diplomatic front, but in the continent of Africa, we are not faring well. So listen to this statement, and we will get to understand why DRC really were unsettled with it.
I'll ask you some questions about the crisis currently in Eastern Congo. And there's a security situation, but the current dispute between Tshisekedi and Kagame could possibly further inflame the region today. How can you solve the problem?
Just so that you know, Kenya participated in the East African force that was in Eastern DRC. We did what I consider a very commendable job. We pacified the area. We got the M23 to move away from the areas that we had agreed. In fact, we were remaining with the cantonment question. And the M23 asked the question, do we go into the camps, surrender our arms before we have a conversation? Or do we have a conversation so that as we go into the camps, we know what the conversation is all about? Can we put our grievances on the table? And it makes sense to all of us. And we asked the government in DRC to consider a conversation, a dialogue with their own citizens, so that we can resolve this issue. EAC, we believe that the challenge in Eastern DRC cannot be solved using military force, especially if those in contention are willing to have a conversation. That is why we asked the government of DRC to consider seriously using the instruments that are available in the Nairobi peace process, which is a dialogue process, or in the Luanda peace process, which is also a dialogue process, or even a combination of both. We still believe that the solution to the challenges of Eastern DRC do not lie in use of military force, but lie in a consultative dialogue process and the instruments are available. The sooner we access, the sooner we use the instruments of dialogue, consultation that are in place, the sooner we will solve that problem. I had a conversation with the leadership of SADC. As we exited, they came in, and I told them very clearly that we don't think that there is a military solution here. And I think slowly, after several months, they now agree with us that there needs to be a rethink of whether we should be deploying more troops or we should be deploying more people to engage in dialogue, in consultation, in a conversation, because these are citizens who are ready and willing to engage their government. If you ask me, I would go along and say, let us forget about complicating this problem. This is not about Rwanda and DRC. This is not about Kagame and Tshisekedi. This is about citizens and their government. And if we understood it in that context, the sooner we will solve the problem.
So, from what you say, you do agree with Paul Kagame when he says the M23 is a Congolese problem?
It's not Kagame who is saying it. As heads of state, in a meeting, we asked M23, the people in there, are they Rwandese or they are Congolese? And DRC said, these are Congolese. End of question. So if these are Congolese, how does it become a Rwanda problem? How does it become a Kagame problem? I think since it is settled that M23 are Congolese, it is a Congolese problem, and therefore we need a Congolese solution. And in our opinion, listening to all the sides, whether it is using the Luanda process or the Nairobi peace process, the Nairobi peace process I can speak authoritatively because I have attended some of the meetings. M23 want to be involved in the dialogue. They are saying, why are you locking us out? We are Congolese. We have issues. We want to talk to our government. I don't find any better outcome than a citizenship that has grievances, that have issues with their government, who are willing to engage their government in a discussion so that they can sort out their grievances. I do that all the time. When the opposition, for example in Kenya, raised issues about an election that I won fair and square, 6 months later, 6 months after the election, they said, we think we won the election. 6 months later. And they caused issues. I told them, okay, let's talk.
That statement from President of Republic of Kenya has caused an uproar across the continent. And there is a big division between the truth about this matter. And there, like there are two peace processes on DRC. There is the Luanda process and there is Nairobi peace process that is being chaired by former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So by President Ruto making that statement, it was really having significant effect on the geopolitics of within the region, within the DR and the DR and Rwanda. Remember, this is a discussion that always dragged even Uganda in it. And there were some questions, and I've been trying to look at maybe some analysts and some observers weighing on this matter. And let's look at what I've been seeing people asking. And they're asking if the DRC and the DRC and the M23 rebel issue is not a military issue, then why was Kenya Defense Forces in DRC? KDF in Goma did not receive a good reception because there were angles or other discussions or other allegations of being M23 enablers. And remember, they even came back. Ruto knows well which side of his bread is buttered and by whom. So what the other analysts, and I think this was an analyst from Kigali, was saying that the President of the Republic of Kenya knows very well where his standing is, and he lacks neutrality, because it's not true that the military issue has been there. And because this is something that was creating this instability in the DRC, it is not something that you can wish away and say they're not part of it. Number two, Ruto, what was Rwanda doing in negotiations about Eastern DRC and making decisions on behalf of M23? Are you, then someone is asking, Ruto, are you smarter than UN investigators who produced multiple reports showing Rwandan forces in DRC? This is another question. But then, why does peace agreement or talks between M23 and DRC, the Rwandese government, always send its envoys? If it is a Congolese issue, as one to make it, then why is it that Kagame always sends its envoys on the talks? No, it borders the two. The other person is asking, UN report confirmed that RDF, I think RDF could be Rwanda Defense Forces, is fighting alongside M23, but this monster can't understand, but this monster is one that Africa do not want to confront. Remember, Tshisekedi recently even suffered attempted coup by some rebel leaders, and one of them was actually having citizenship was actually having dual citizenship between America and DRC. It will be difficult, and that is the voice, it will be difficult to link Rwanda from this, even as we want to. The other states, the other partners, the other states around DRC from this, because the interest there is very huge. Recently, there was an accident of MV vehicles, MV's military vehicles. And when inspection was done on that miracle, and that was American MV vehicle, when inspection was done, when inspection was done there, they realized it was just carrying minerals. And it was a military vehicle. There. China is also entering there in search for cobalt. So the interest in DRC Congo is huge. Now, I want to look at why Tshisekedi is unsettled with Ruto and the team in it. But before I look at that, I want to put up something that one of us, I think, I saw in the comment, and someone was asking. Kenya is imposing itself on some mediation front within the continent. But even before you even settle on Kenya as a mediator of this and that, do you look at, if for example, the President Ruto is to mediate the peace, and let's take example this one of Sudan and even that one DR Congo, does he have the qualification on that? Does he have the competence on mediation? You know, people have been raising questions on that. Apart from the educational bit on leadership, where have you seen President Ruto mediating? Apart from UDA politics, finding on who to invite governor and who to invite to MCA. You know, someone really shared that discussion. I don't know whether it's valid, and my argument also is that if Kenya takes up a position, then it might not be William Ruto. William Ruto can have a secretariat, and that secretariat will still have mediators. Then the question being, who is this senior most person that is in charge of this mediation on Kenyan side? Because the person in the picture has been William Ruto. So we've lost our neutrality in this, and we've goofed again in a diplomatic tiff with DRC Congo for the third time since Kenya Kwanza administration, so much as we say we are getting accolades out in the continent, but we are not performing well in the continent. And it begs the question on what exactly is our stake in it. Now, the reason why this is, the interest here is, must unsettle Ruto's presence is unsettling some forces, is what I want us to narrow down into. And just to make us understand better, Tshisekedi doesn't welcome Kagame. The greatest enemy, by the way, of Kagame. In fact, Tshisekedi believes that M23 rebels are from that other side. That's what he believes. And there seems to be mistrust even in the peace process that is being spearheaded by East Africa. You may want to ask, are they really in it? Yes, we've seen some military intervention, they've been sending the military there. But are they really in it? And I think something that is unsettling Tshisekedi is Ruto's close ties with Rwanda. And I want to ask you, I think we've seen within the month of May, Ruto has been to Rwanda, and also the Rwandan president has been to Kenya. Do you realize that when President Ruto is in Rwanda, is in another foreign country, he will always be somewhere, he will always be set up somewhere to make an interview and comment about other things in Africa. But the other African presidents, when they're here, I'm not seeing them being subjected to these interviews. I don't know whether I'm the only one who is realizing that. Because Ruto was in Rwanda, and he was in Rwanda to attend the African CEO Summit Forum, yes. But the following, I think after 2 weeks, Kagame was in Kenya to attend an ADB, African Development Bank annual meetings here. I did not see Kagame being pressed and giving himself for interviews about this and goofing on these matters. But us, when we get out, we do it. But now, let me talk about the close ties with Rwanda. Rwanda is, from where President Ruto is standing, he seems to be absolving Kagame from what Tshisekedi believes. And from his own standing, that relationship with Rwanda is why maybe the Congo envoys feel like he's lacked neutrality in that matter. Remember, this is a decade-old problem, and different multiple reports. If you check different reports by UN, AU, and other bodies that have been trying to dig into this, have been linking the three countries. Rwanda, they've been linking both Kigali and both Rwanda and Uganda. But here is a situation where I say it is it, and of course, someone may ask, is it really true what the president is saying there? Is it really true? That is what the general said. That is what the DRC envoy said. So that close ties is having a lot of mistrust. Remember, the fight in DRC is for those resources. And DRC, as long as they have those resources, they'll never know peace. The people that are angling the resources in DRC Congo knows very well that if DRC is independent, then they will take charge of those. But the chaos and the war is a cosmetic war that was set up and is being triggered by external forces so that interest can be divided as people scramble for those resources. And that, Ruto has a close ties with America. So Ruto mission with America is what is affecting the other side. Because in fact, when he met Biden, he mentioned it and was telling the US that just like you're paying attention to other world wars in Gaza, there are also conflicts in the Horn of Africa. There are also conflicts in Somalia. And he mentioned Somalia, he mentioned Sudan, and he mentioned DR Congo. So was seeking intervention, the global intervention in it. So having known that when Ruto is coming in that table, Ruto is coming in that table clearly with the US in it. And I've just told you that even China is getting its way there. They are already hawking some very good financial facilities, some loans to give to DRC Congo on development. The current SGR that they want to build in Nairobi is supposed to extend to DR Congo. So already it's not clear. And I would wonder, and something that still puzzles me here is Rwanda doesn't have a good relationship with the US. They were struck out of AGOA because they told the US that they don't want second-hand clothes to be exported there. Number 3 is Tshisekedi could be reading there is some divide between the Luanda process and Nairobi peace process. And I think Nairobi peace process that is spearheaded by former President Uhuru Kenyatta is being undermined locally. Yes, I remember when some rebels, Nairobi peace process is a dialogue to bring the government and the rebels into a debate, into the table for a dialogue. And the way Kenya has always undermined it maybe is not sitting well with the DRC envoys, who feel like if there was a peace process that is being spearheaded by former President Uhuru Kenyatta and it's being undermined, that statement by the president undermined Nairobi peace process. And to the best of my knowledge, maybe someone wants Nairobi peace process to collapse so that another process might emerge, well funded by some other people, some other organizations, or support the alternative Luanda process. And the fight between Luanda and Nairobi process could be in it. Tshisekedi could be revolting on this end. And lastly, the war in Congo is the breeding site. The war in Congo is the breeding site for the minerals to be smuggled out of that country. And there is a lot of mistrust in terms of who is really honestly pushing the agenda of DR Congo. That is a question that I think even DR Congo officials are split on. Because how do you explain that the other time, I remember during the inauguration of Tshisekedi, not even inauguration of Tshisekedi, a month towards to that general election in DR Congo that was done, I think in December, if I'm not wrong, Nairobi hosted some rebel group that had formed some Congo Alliance or something. Nairobi hosted those rebel groups. And then when the Congo protested, they protested even, and I think even our embassy was closed there, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that is what was actually said there, that the embassy in Congo was even closed. So they had some protests on it. And after that protest, Kenya came up and said, you know, we can't choose who is our friend. In Kenya, we have democratic principles. And I remember Musalia Mudavadi making that statement, releasing that media press, that because we have democratic principles in Kenya that guide our country, there was no way we were going to limit the freedom of expression by those rebel leaders in Nairobi. Remember, the intelligence of Kenya is top-notch. That could not happen, and I think the envoys in DR Congo understood very well that there is a message that Kenya was sending. So we lacked the standing, and there are so many other forces. I might also not absolve Tshisekedi from it. Not that he's also innocent. There could also be other external forces in it. This is not a matter of the three countries. This is a scramble for the resource in DR Congo, and so many other players are in it. Remember, as we speak, there is the Sahel nations, which is just bordering the DR Congo, is running a very big campaign against Western exploits on Kenyan minerals. They are sending away, Niger is sending away the British. Niger hosted one of the biggest US military bases. They are sending them away, saying that despite the fact that they've been there, they've still been witnessing peace, and their minerals are just getting smuggled out of the country, and they're not feeling anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Tshisekedi pullout is a big statement, and Kenyan diplomatic officials from the embassy must take it very serious. I just saw that information, and I think there is something deep about it. Thank you.